right, hi everyone. There's a lot of us who wonder is if it is possible to work our way to earn 5 figures per month, especially after graduation. So what if I tell you that it can be done? And I'm honored to be able to have this special guest with us today, Faizul Ridzuan, CEO and founder of Far Capital, to share with us his story today. So welcome to the show, Faizul.
Thanks for having me, Ryan.
So, I've read your best-selling book several times already. This one called WTF is actually Where to Find 23 Properties Before the Age of 30, and it's amazing. You started buying your property with only 2,000 ringgit, and your first job as a programmer pays you for about 600 ringgit. Can you actually share with us what did you see or listen that not everyone was able to grab hold of the opportunity to reach where you are today?
So I'm going to talk about from two contexts, right? One is the context of as a young employee, what do you want to do in order to get your salary to be from low to high, hopefully in the next 5 to 6 years? Because I went from a 600 ringgit per month salary at about 23 to then making 10,000 per month before I was 30. And basically the reason why I was able to do it is that I focused on, as I was young, I focused on getting more skill rather than the salary. So what do I mean by this, right? Let's say, for example, my first job, I was offered a salary of 1,005 to work for UITM to build websites. Or I was offered a 600 ringgit per month salary to become a junior programmer to learn this language called C++. So between 1,005 salary and 600, most people will go for 1,005. But I went to the 600 ringgit salary because I know that the skill set I will learn from there will be far more valuable compared to if I was to go out to build a website, right?
So you pick a job that gives you, that you will build your skills so that you can do more things than what you are going to do.
Exactly. So I went for the skill first, and then only I worry about getting paid, right? Because if you're not skilled, eventually people are not going to pay you top dollar. People pay you top dollar, right? Because you are skilled at certain things, right? There are a couple of people who sell a plate of char kway teow at $4, right? In Pasar Malam. And yet there are some aunties in Penang that can sell it for about $15 per plate, right? It is because they master a certain skill set that was acquired over a long period of time that allows them to charge a certain level of premium today. What I've done in the past, and I'm still doing it up today, is to really focus on the skill first before I look at the money. First you learn, then you earn, right? The first learn, LEARN. Once you've learned, then you can remove the L and it becomes earn, right? So that's basically what happened to me in my first job. And then I read this book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I become completely demotivated from working, right? Why is it? Because the book basically told me that if you continue to work, you will never be rich. And I came from a very humble background, right? My dad was a car wash owner, small car wash owner. My mom was a government servant, retired, right? So we didn't come from money, right? So I don't want to be poor, right, forever. So that book basically said the only way for you to become rich here is that you become either an investor or a business owner, right? So I become completely demotivated about working as a software engineer. So remember the language that I learned, C++?
Yep.
I took the 600 ringgit job to learn that language. 9 months later, I became a software engineer at Green Packet with a pay of 2004. My pay got up 400% in less than a year because of one skill set I learned, right? But then I joined that company. I read that book. I become completely demotivated about about working anymore. Then I begin to realize that at the end of the day, my interest is not to talk to computers. So I want to do something. I want to become an owner. I want to become a business owner. I want to become an investor. But I had no money, so I cannot start a business. Neither I can become an investor because you cannot need capital for that. So I've decided that moving forward, I will only take a job that will teach you either investment or how to become a business owner. And then I quit my 2,400 ringgit per month job to become a credit card salesman on the street because I want to learn how to sell.
That's a big risk you took from something that is stable and comfortable. You suddenly jump into something that you don't know, right?
All my friends thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
And my dad was so upset with my decision because I had a degree from University Malaya. But for me, I just somehow had this conviction that never mind, I'm still young. I'm like, 34, 35. If this doesn't work out, I can always go back to regular workforce 2 years from now, right? It's not because I love credit cards or I love selling, but it's because I was told that if you want to become a successful entrepreneur, you need to learn how to sell.
Mm.
So I took the leap of faith, quit my job, earn zero, and I sell credit card for commission. If I don't sell credit card that month, I don't earn, I don't eat. So that's basically how I started. And then, but thanks to that job, I know how it feels to not have any money. I know how it feels to make certain decisions whereby people don't get you, but you still have to do it anyway. So 9 months later, after selling credit card and I become a better communicator, my English level went up by a couple hundred points, and I got a job in the bank. And it's not because I love banking. I went to join the bank because I want to learn the subject of money. So I began to take on jobs whereby I take on the job because I can learn something out of it. So that one day I can become a good investor, I can become a good business owner. Then subsequently, after a 4-year stint with Standard Chartered, and I was, making about from 2.5 to about 3.5, bought my first 3 property there. Then, I took a job to learn how to lead people on sales, and that's when I get paid 10,000.
So how long was that period of time when it happened from the day you took the job as a programmer all the way to you went to Standard Chartered?
My boss told me specifically the reason why he hired me and decided to pay me triple from Sanchat. It is because I have this belief whereby if I have this particular problem, I see ways for how to solve it. My mentality is to solve problems. So number one, my English was a lot better. And of course, if you want to ace in interviews, your English has to be pretty decent. And number two, when you are young and you are able to convince and sell things, right? So that becomes a very valuable skill set because at the end of the day, people don't realize it that everything that we do, we're selling something. You go to interview, you're selling yourself, right? You go to work every day, you're selling your solution to your boss or to the customer. Whatever you do, you're actually selling something, right? So a sales skill set is a very important skill set. And I guess if you are young today and you are looking, you want to make more than 10K per month before you are 30, one of the best ways to go and do that is to pick up a sales skill.
But I wonder, how do you learn and pick up those skills along the way? Are you like someone very observant, or you are like someone who read book a lot and then you test it out, see whether this theory works or not?
I'm the person who I don't read a lot. I read one book. If it makes sense to me, I go all out and do it. I don't overthink about I don't overthink the worst case scenario. I think about what's my downside, right? What do I have to lose here? And what's my upside? I was only making 2,000 plus, right? I don't know of anyone which is rich around me at all in my life, right? In this 2004. So Robert Kiyosaki was filthy rich with a couple of thousand properties under his name, right? My thought here is that if I were to do it, I can probably get to half or quarter to what he is, and it's way better than whatever I'm doing today. You saw someone who had this particular blueprint, and it was successful for him for a long period of time. And for me, I don't want to be a genius and say, I can do better using my own way. No, I mean, like, there's a path that was already charted by someone else. And if it's working over a long period of time, probability of it working for you if you work hard enough is high, right? So I'm not smart. I'm just a guy who read, understand, believe, execute like crazy.
Once you hit your first 10,000, you didn't slow down. What actually motivated you to break your income benchmark, which you set earlier back in your 20s?
I remember I had this conversation with my ex-girlfriend, now my wife, right? And I know my ex-girlfriend wife back in uni. So she saw me when I was working at Starbucks in uni. all the way to selling credit card on the street when her friends was asking, "So your boyfriend has got a future or not?" This guy, because she has got doctors going after her and whatnot, right? So they're wondering, is this a guy that you want to be with? It sucks to be a guy, lah, right? So you have all this pressure, right? And I remember at the point of that, I told her, I'll be happy to make 3,000 per month so that I can buy McDonald's fries every day, right? So that was like me at 23 years old. But that was before I read the book, right? And the book literally changed my life. And I began to think, because I don't like to be rich, because I always felt that rich people are, people who are bad people, that's why they become rich, man.
Yeah.
Then until I read the book, and then I began, okay, you know what? You can help a lot more people if you have money. So that completely changed my perspective. Then we began to be a bit more obsessed about becoming successful, because one of the key things that I think that rich people can do is to help more people. So at that point of time, my goal was, after I began to buy a bunch of property, is that to make 8,000 per month passive income so that I no longer rely on a job.
How about nowadays? We fast forward, because now we have sometimes, it's politically not stable, or COVID-19, which is really at a very strange time right now. Do you think now, is it still possible, or the game just got harder right now?
Okay, if you are buying property this year and next year, I think you are in for an opportunity of a lifetime. I began to buy properties in 2005, right? And the properties don't really make much money every month, in terms of capital gain, but every month it gives me a couple of thousand positive cash flow. Average about 3,000 to 4,000 per month, right? So I was okay lah. So salary wise, a couple of thousand, positive cash flow, a couple of thousand, quite happy. So I began to buy more property. Then 2010, right after the crisis of 2009, we began to have a property bull run. So because I bought about 20 properties already, up until 2010. So when one property you buy make 200,000, if you own 20, you make a couple of million lah. So that was my first lucky break, right? But I was fortunate, and I made my first 5 million at 32, 33 years old, thanks to property investment. That allows me to sell a bunch of property, quit my job, and fulfill my long-term ambition of starting my own business. So in 2010, I got lucky. I feel people who buy property today will potentially be lucky as me in 2010, because I think we are already in a crisis. But typically, what happens after a crisis, you have a property bull run. So I think if you position yourself smartly in the next couple of months, you'll be making a couple of 100,000, hopefully maybe 1 or 2 million, in the next 4 to 5 years.
Today, we actually talk about how to get till 10,000, but Faizul here is sharing until you can get 100,000 or 1 million. This is a bonus for all of you guys here out there. So, okay, after this, I'll be asking Faizul more questions, interesting one. We'll be right back after the break. And we're back with Faizul, our expert of the day, to talk about how you work your way up from 0 to 10,000 ringgit or more. All right, Faizul, I see behind you there's a lot of books at your background. So,
right,
do you actually have a book that you can recommend us to read besides the one that you write, so that you can inspire us to pursue higher level of income?
My life changed when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Right. I think the concept in the book is easy enough for people to understand. If there's one book that I would recommend from an investment, especially for employees' point of view, it's going to be that book. Because the reality here is that you can actually become, a multi-millionaire upon retirement as an employee if you continue to work, but at the same time you buy property on the side.
So it's possible to continue work and slowly acquiring the assets, investment, this and that. You don't need to stop, and then lepas people stop, people will sometimes think, takkan goyang kaki saja kan, tak buat apa-apa kat rumah.
The other thing about working here is that when you are trading time for money, which is working, that's your active income, right? So you stop trading time for money, then you no longer have an income. So that's called active income. So the idea here is to make sure that your passive income builds slowly, eventually to match up your active income. So passive means, it's passive lah. You work, you don't work, it still comes. So for example, you buy property for rental after 10 years, you pay your mortgage 1,000, you get rental 2,000, right? So every month you get 1,000. Whether you work or you don't work, you should be able to get it as long as you have a tenant. So the idea here, guys, for young people, if possible, is to build what I call either passive income or hustle income. So if work, what you do today is not really inspiring, you can do hustle income whereby you work on your side gig on a part-time basis. And then after that, once, for example, let's say you make 5,000 per month today, and then your hustle income, makes 2,000, 2005. Once you reach 50%, then you can begin to see, should you do this full time or not, right? So that will be my advice. Don't jump straight.
Now, many claims that the only way probably you can achieve higher income level faster if you work somewhere like Brunei, Singapore, Australia, due to the exchange rate. What are your thoughts on this?
I think the thought is not wrong. I think Brunei is quite an excellent place to work and save money. Unfortunately, if you only work and make, let's say you work in Malaysia, you make 10,000. You work in Brunei, now you make 30,000. If you work in Malaysia and invest, you will still beat the guy who makes 3 times than your salary in Brunei, for sure.
What were the sacrifices that you were ready to make to reach where you are today?
I think you just have to come to the acceptance whereby in the first couple of years, there's a bunch of things that you have to sacrifice. You don't go to as many holidays as possible, as much. The only time I went to overseas was on my honeymoon, right? And it was just Bali. It's not too expensive. And I was already making 10 grand, right, at that point of time. But at the same time, I bought like a bunch of property. And fortunately for me, my partner, she understands, and she also doesn't have this, view whereby if I don't have a Louis Vuitton, I'm a failure. She owns a bunch of property, a lot more than her colleagues who, drives a nice car and carry Louis Vuittons, right? And you just have to accept the fact, if you're gonna party now, you're gonna work harder later, but for people who work harder today, you can party and enjoy life much better later. When I was making 10,000 per month, I'm still riding motorbike to go to work. I don't even own a car. Right?
Yeah, speaking about that, at what age did you buy your first car? I mean, I remember you were using motorcycle all the way to use as much as you can, right?
Yeah. At 29, right? That's when I bought my first car, and my first car was a BMW.
Wow.
Because I waited, right? So a lot of people, 23, 34-year-old already drive my Villa, Honda. I waited, okay? And at that point of time, my passive income was already like a couple of thousand per month. And my BMW repayment is less than 2,000. So, my car is free. At 29, my car is free, right? My BMW is free. So, so that's what happened when you can sacrifice 5 years. It gives you an advantage of 30 years by just sacrificing 5 years, first 5 years. But a lot of people are not willing to make those kind of sacrifice.
Interesting. If there's a choice, I mean, if someone, maybe they need to look for a certainty that, after 5 years that I can achieve that. I think maybe some would want, some might not. These things are playing in their mind, maybe.
I think, like I said, there's no right or wrong answer. I mean, like as long as you make the decision, you are aware of the consequences of the decision.
Yep.
And you're okay with it, then it's fine.
Okay, there's an article that is quite talked about in the social media. People who emphasize needing the income, and there's another separate group that says they prefer emphasizing more on financial literacy. Which one is more important to you? Is it the income first or the financial literacy first?
I think it's financial literacy. If you give R1 million to a poor guy who has never been rich, right?
Yep.
And they won a lottery, chances are they can finish the money out in 2 years. Your mind is like a cup, right? And let's say this cup can hold 5,000 income, right? The moment you give 2 million, what happens to the cup? It overflows, right? And by the time you know it, you don't know where the water went. So for me, if your mind is not ready to manage 2 million, there's no way you can keep 2 million. So a knowledge in terms of how to manage money is life-changing.
I mean, teaching him how to fish instead of just giving him the fish all the time so that he consume, and there's no end to it.
I mean, I'm not saying that you don't need the fish today. By all means, give it today, but that's not a sustainable long-term solution.
All right, so let's go for a short break first before we wrap up this discussion today. So stay tuned, don't go away. we're back here with me, Ryan, your host for Bujang Broke. So, last question, Faizul, for the day. What will be your advice to our audiences who want to make 10,000 or more one day?
That can only happen when you have real passion because you want to produce, if you are a baker, you want to produce the best croissant, right? So, for example, today, there's a lot of places that sell cheap croissant, right? A ringgit, 2 ringgit, and whatnot. But I'll be happy to go over to Pavilion, to go to a place that, to me, makes the best croissant in the world, right? And I couldn't get it from France. But now they open a place in Pavilion. I'm happy to go there and pay $10 for a croissant. There are a lot of people who can make croissant, but I'm not going to pay them $10. I would be happy to pay $10 every day to eat these guys' croissant. It is because they produce the best in the world, right? So there are many things that I can give an example, right? So this is a working chair, right?
Yep.
You can buy this for 200 ringgit. So yesterday I went to a shop that sells this chair for $8,000, right? $8,000. Can you imagine me, this cheapskate, paying 40 times? Okay, 40 times, right? More than the average, stupid chair, right? Then this guy taught me the most insane statement, right? And he said, we are giving you a 12 years unlimited warranty. Anything broken, you get to repair. So your cost per month to own the best chair in the world is only 60 ringgit. Now, I'm already an old man. I'm already 39, right? So I'm beginning to have back pains because, Ryan, I'm quite a hardcore at work, right? I work until 3 or 4 o'clock every day.
Yes.
So my chair is a big deal. Now, do you think I'll pay 7,000 for a chair? I would, simply because the value of being able to preserve my health, my back for longer time, is worth it. Therefore, I'll pay 40 times more because I want the best chair to protect my back, my health, so that I can use it for a longer time. All right? So whatever you do, guys, be the best, because only the best get paid astronomically high. All right? There's a reason why Gordon Ramsay restaurant, if you go there, you'll be prepared to pay $1,000, right, for 2%. Yet at the same time, you go to restaurant, you can have a decent meal for $20. There's a reason, because Gordon Ramsay is one of the best at what he does, and he's a Michelin-star restaurant. People acknowledge that for that, and people are willing to pay when you are the best. So I think when you are the best, 10,000 is small money.
All right, awesome. So there's a lot that we learned from your sharing today. We learned to go for a job that gives us the most experience. We also can work at the same time, go for hustle income after our working hours, as well as emphasizing on financial literacy that will help us to manage money better. And lastly, to be the best in everything that we do. So the show has come to an end, but we will see you in the next episode to talk about saving for the rainy day. So my name is Ryan, and I'm your host for Bujang Broke. We'll see you in the next episode.